begin whenever you're ready.
Walt Disney once said, "I have been up against tough competition all my life. I wouldn't know how to get along without it." This shows that Walt Disney was not only excellent at making fun rides, but also excellent in business and successful with people. My statement today is that competition is better than cooperation. First of all, rivalry and competition requires and uses cooperation, while cooperation stands alone. This is because, as stated often in schools and sports, competition is not just about working against each other. It allows teams to work together, and in competitions for things like music or dance, kids collaborate to improve their acts for the actual competition. For example, in the Berlin Conference, countries at war were competing for land during the war without actually shooting at each other. Secondly, while they were still communicating, they respectively fought for their own rights. With competition, it does not completely rely on someone else to supply answers for you while working in groups. It inspires independence in people and allows you to come up with ideas of your own. I'm not saying we should omit cooperation. We should just use it as a building block for competition. Competition makes the best use of cooperation because it brings two or more good ideas together instead of just using one person's idea. Different ideas are inevitable no matter how minor. If every marketer on the Silk Roads tried to collaborate and sell the same thing, there would be even greater arguments about payment and selling location. The more competition is used, the more production of items we will have in the future. It has been confirmed by a study that of 18 to 24-year-olds, almost 80% would prefer competitive elements, such as gaming, to help their learning environment. Industrialization is a big deal nowadays. With that comes different brands and models. For us, the consumers, we don't really have to do anything except sit back and wait for the best possible brands to come to us. Phones are a great example of this. Important competitors in the rivalry include Apple, Android, and Samsung. The competition of these companies helps us because they're always trying to make better products, getting us the best possible items and models as consumers. In Animal Farm, the animals do not just give food to whoever wants it. The animals have to work for it. While they are competing for food, it automatically transfers to more food being produced, meaning more food to be distributed, meaning the animals are healthy and can work. The whole cycle repeats itself. Competition is a tactic being used more and more in schools, sports, and everyday life. Is competition the answer to laziness? Experts and teachers around the world seem to think so. While collaboration only engages one part of the human intellect, competition involves multiple aspects of communication and the aim to do well. Thank you, and I'll stand ready for cross-examination.
Don't you agree that in Egypt there are many people that had to work together in order to build the pyramids?
I think that the idea of the pyramids had to be come up with first, and that idea probably was a competition in itself.
Yes, but there are many people in the Egyptian government, like the head pharaoh and all of the advisors, that probably helped work together to come up with the idea.
Well, why is there a hierarchy of pharaoh and advisors if all of them could just work together in cooperation?
Because it has to lead up to one person, so that way they can all cooperate, but one person has to make the head decision. Moving on, if you had to do the whole Y1K project all by yourself, do you think you would have had a lot of homework, considering we didn't have much homework for the Y1K project?
I think so, but in our groups itself, they were distributed. It wasn't that we were all completely doing the same thing. We had homework anyway that we had to do ourselves.
Yes, but if you were running late on a deadline, you could ask one of your partners to help you out and finish it. If it were just yourself, you wouldn't be able to ask for any help.
But if you asked somebody to help you out and finish a project that you were supposed to do, you wouldn't get the learning experience you were supposed to by doing that project.
If it were a group project, you would learn how to cooperate and help team members out.
Well, in competition, you work hard because you know that you're working towards a goal. So in cooperation, you have the ability to fly under the radar and use other people's ideas, which doesn't encourage individualism, which is important in this age.
It is true that being individual is helpful, but you have to build off of what other people have as well and cooperate with them. If you always compete, you won't learn what they have to say as well. so you won't better yourself.
Time.
Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "Competition has been shown to be useful up to a certain point and no further. But cooperation, which is the thing that we must strive for today, begins where competition leaves off." This just goes to show that we have to get together in order to accomplish great things. Even according to Princeton University, people are overall more successful when they work together. I stand at the negative perspective of competition is better than cooperation. Thus, I think that cooperation is better than competition. When people work together, they can do things that are beyond the abilities of any one person. We wouldn't have many of the inventions that we have today if it weren't for the scientists from the Industrial Revolution. For example, James Watt was a brilliant inventor of the Industrial Age who invented the Watt steam engine. But his efforts were a financial failure until he started working with his business partner, Matthew Boulton. Together, they were able to form a successful partnership and spread the use of the steam engine. Another invention that helped people collaborate and have cooperation with each other was the printing press, invented by Gutenberg. When he made the press, he made it easier to share other people's ideas. In civilizations like Egypt, people cooperated and were able to build great things like the pyramids. In some of the larger pyramids, there were 2.3 million stone blocks. That would be impossible if it were just one person. With cooperation, workers could divide themselves into tasks so that one person could be in charge of stone, another in charge of food, and another overseeing the whole project. It's true that there were people on top, like the pharaoh and the royal court, but all the workers were able to pull together for a common purpose. Without a common purpose, each person would be working on his own, trying only to get enough food for one day. There is much power in numbers. This is shown even in our day-to-day lives. In trimester 1, we did the Y1K project. It would be very difficult for one person to make 3 different products, lots of them, do all the research, and take care of all the customers at the marketplace. In World War I, it would also be very difficult for one allied country to defeat Germany when it was trying to make advances. When all the countries came together in the war to try to defeat Germany with all their powers together, the Allies ended up winning because of their cooperation with the other countries on their side. As my examples show, when people get together, they can do great things. When we are on our own, we cannot be nearly as successful as when we work in a group. When we work in a group, as many different people have displayed, we cannot do things without each other. Thank you. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
Would you agree that kids work better when they have the prospect of an award?
It can help them sometimes.
So, moving on. Do you agree that competition does not necessarily mean a violent fight?
You can compete peacefully sometimes, although you don't learn as much.
Aren't we competing right now in great debates, not violently, but for the learning experience?
Yes, although we're also cooperating to make a debate.
This entire dialogue between us is a competition to see who has the best stance and who can be successful. And if this competition were a bad thing, our teachers or superiors would be stopping it.
Yes, a little competition can be friendly, although we tend to learn it when we compete more, or when we cooperate more. And we are cooperating now because if we were just competing, then we would be arguing, not debating.
Do you agree that in the future we get into more competitive situations such as job offers, promotions, and getting into college?
Yes.
So isn't it better that we're able to experience competition now to prepare us for upcoming events in the future?
Sometimes, although we will always have to cooperate because there will always be business partners that we'll be working with, and if we constantly tried to compete and get ahead of them, they wouldn't want to be working with us, and then we just get put back where we started.
But in business, as the consumers, we don't care about the business together, we care about the competition between the businesses. Like in the example before, Apple, Android, we care about their competition so we get the best possible model, right?
Yes, although the people within the companies, like for example Apple, there's lots of people that work for Apple working together within that company to make the best iPhone possible.
Yes, but as consumers, when we get an iPhone, we don't ask how they cooperated in Apple. We ask, does my email send or does my text messaging work?
Time. Okay. Both have 1 minute to prepare your closing statements.
contests are a clear way to encourage people's development so they achieve their greatest potential. Sports uses it, business use it, even schools use it. Kids are prepared for later in life in college and business when they learn to respectively work to be above others. My opponent argues that scientists cooperated in the past, but we remember that Edison for the first light bulb that beat everybody else, helping us. Michael Jordan said, "I play to win, whether in practice or a real game. I will not let anything get in the way of me and my competitive enthusiasm to win." Jordan was not only one of the all-time basketball greats, but accomplished many things outside of sports because of his perspective and will to achieve success. We can learn from him that competitiveness is an admirable quality, one that serves you well in all aspects of life. Thank you.
When we are on our own, we cannot be nearly as successful as when we work in a group. This is shown in many different ways throughout human history. An example of another civilization using necessary cooperation and collaboration is Egypt. When they built the pyramids, they had to work together to put them together. The pyramids are great wonders that we probably couldn't even recreate today. One person couldn't put 2.3 million stone blocks into their place just by themselves. My opponent argued that competition is needed to better yourself, although that is not necessarily always true, because you can cooperate with team members to build you up and thus make you a stronger person. There is also more power in numbers. This is displayed in our lifetime because we need other people. A way in school that other people have helped us is during the Wild and Kid project. During the project, we cooperated with other members in our group and were thus able to make more progress and succeed as a group. As Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, competition has been shown to be useful up to a certain point and no further. But cooperation, which is the thing that we must strive for today, begins where competition leaves off.
Thank you, ladies.